This is the jack of my SIM card, my very first SIM card. This SIM card was bought more than 20 years ago, right? Now, it's an MTN SIM card. And the interesting thing about this card is that, as at the time it was bought, I will never forget. We paid 20,000 naira for it. My dad bought the SIM card. And now, it's not the amount of money, right? It's how difficult it was to find the SIM card in almost all of Lagos. It was very difficult to find the MTN SIM card. I believe MTN was the very first that came in when we made the transition to, the mobile phone, when the mobile phone revolution took over. He had to search all of Lagos, and the only place he eventually found this SIM card to buy at that outrageous price then was in Badagry. In all of Lagos, they had run out. He had to go all the way to Badagry to go and buy the SIM card. Now, if you want to buy this same SIM card from MTN or a SIM card from any of the telco providers, the last time I bought a SIM card, it was basically free. No, what am I saying? It was actually worse than free because I was asked to pay 200 naira for a SIM card, and they gave me a SIM card that was preloaded with 500 naira call credit. So essentially, MTN paid me 300 naira to take their SIM card. So the thing is, how do you go from a very lucrative product like a SIM card, a very profitable product like a SIM card, how do you go from such a high price as 20,000 naira down to giving away the SIM card for free? And not just for free, you're not paying your customers to actually take the SIM card off you. What has happened is that the telecoms industry has become a very competitive market, and it has become increasingly difficult to sell in that market. I'm using the telecoms industry because that is a clear example of what many people are going through in their small businesses. Almost 99% of businesses in Nigeria are in competitive markets. It doesn't matter whether you sell sachet water or bottled water, or you sell vegetables, or you sell dispatch rider services. Most businesses in Nigeria are very competitive. So, the topic of the conversation I want to have today is about how to sell in competitive markets. Because the thing is this, competition comes in different shades and sizes. If you look at the sachet water industry, for example, who is the biggest producer of pure water, sachet water in Nigeria? In Lagos, you cannot know because that market is a very fragmented market. You have a lot of small players that are competing in that market, right? That market is very different from the cement industry. Cement, you only have about 3, 4 major players in cement, but I dare you to go into the cement market. The cement market is brutally competitive because even though you have few players, they will crush you very easily. So the size or intensity of competition is not about the number of players who are competing. There are different shades and different dynamics to competition. But bottom line is that there are there are important rules you need to follow when you are in a competitive market, particularly when it comes to selling. So one of the biggest frustrations that people have in their business right now, particularly if you're in a very competitive market, is how can I increase my sales? The reason why sales is difficult is that your competitor is also looking for sales. All of you are targeting the same customers with the same intensity. And unfortunately, the biggest challenge in a competitive market is that people default to price. They start cutting down their prices to attract customers. That's what most people do. They will cut down their prices to attract customers. In fact, consumers are now becoming very aware of this, that consumers know that they thrive more in a competitive market. So you will notice your customers coming to tell you, if you're not going to cut your price, I'll go and buy from your competitor, I'll go and buy from somebody else. So there's no loyalty usually in a competitive market because consumers know they have power. They know they can play you off against your competitors and get lower prices, right? So the thing is, there is actually a way, not just one way. I've curated 12 ways you can overcome your competitors, even if you are in a very competitive market. Some of these strategies are not, these are not academic strategies. These are very practical things. And I want to share one with you. If there's time, I'll share two. One of it is, if you're in a competitive market, it's very likely you will have competitors that are bigger than you. The problem with competition is that we approach competition with ego. Even when you have a bigger competitor, you're trying to compete with your bigger competitor as if the two of you have the same level of resources or the same amount of footprint, right? What some smart people do is, and this is a lesson from nature, it's called commensalism. A commensal in any ecosystem is an organism that lives off another organism without causing harm to that organism. So let me give you an example. Your biggest competitors, there are some customers they will not touch. For example, price. When a business becomes big, they tend to start to select the kind of customers they will serve. So at certain prices, they may not want to serve some of their customers because it may not be profitable for them. So a lot of people are going to your big competitors because they are the most visible, they are the most popular. They are the ones that are available, that are visible on social media. Everybody knows them. Your biggest competitors take out billboards, they're on radio, they're on TV, they do all this advertising. And then when people come to them, they are not able to serve all those customers. Sometimes it's a matter of capacity, sometimes it's a matter of price. One of the smart things you can do, which is one of the 12 strategies, right, that I've curated, is that you position yourself close to a big competitor so that you can benefit from those customers that they cannot serve. Those customers that are either too small or cannot pay enough for that your competitor to serve them. The good thing is that your competitor becomes a magnet for you. So you position yourself close to that competitor so that any customers they are not able to take, you can feed off them. The last time I had this experience was I went to buy paints and I was at a Dulux color center. I walked in there, I didn't know Dulux paints were so expensive. And I walked out of there because it was beyond my budget. And guess what? There were these informal guys. Many of them are not educated, but they understand this strategy. They position themselves close to Dulux because they know that there are a lot of people that will go in there and walk out and not be able to buy paints because of the high cost of their paints. So what do these guys do? They pick off those customers. And it's a very smart move because if you are going to advertise on your own, you may not be able to get those kinds of customers. So this is a commensal strategy. And like I told you, a commensal in biology is an organism that positions itself close enough to usually a bigger organism, so that you're able to benefit from that organism without harming it. If I remember correctly, that relationship between sharks and remora fish is an example of it. And this is a strategy that can serve you very well in a competitive market. It can help you get customers faster, even though you are a smaller and far less significant competitor in the market. You can leverage your bigger competitors to get customers. And I just give you the Dulux example. Another example is what is going on with the transporters. If you know the God is Good Transport, Geo Transport, and the rest of them, you will notice that these transport companies, the popular ones, wherever it is they locate, you will find several other unpopular transport companies, including transport companies that have only one boss. They make sure they position themselves close to the popular companies, whether it's God is Good or Geo and the rest of them. And what are they doing? It's still the same commensal strategy. Most people would want to travel with the popular bus companies because we believe they are safer, they are more visible. Our friends have told us about them, our neighbors have told us about them. But those transport companies have a limited capacity. So when their buses get filled up, they cannot serve all the people who come to them that want to travel with them. Guess what happens? They have a spillover in those transport companies. And guess who benefits? Those smaller bus companies that are positioned strategically close to the big companies. Many of these companies, you may never be able to recognize their names. Some of them don't even have any names that you can recall or something. Maybe you have never used them before. But imagine you have to be in Benin unfailingly today. Imagine you have to be in Onitsha, you have to be in Port Harcourt unfailingly. You go to the bus park and the buses for your favorite transport company is filled up. And you don't want to travel by air because you don't have the money. Guess what you're going to do? You are going to find your way, usually through one of those other small transport companies that are positioned around them. So this is just one out of 12 strategies that I've curated for anybody who is in a competitive market. People look at competitive markets as if it's a disadvantage. In fact, I see people who make the egregious mistake of saying that they want to start a business in a market that nobody's doing anything about it. Some people will tell you they have a unique business idea. They have the idea for a product or service that nobody is doing. In fact, the product is not available in Nigeria. Whenever I hear that, that's a red flag. Because markets like Nigeria are a very competitive market. That if you want to start a business that looks like nothing else that any other person is doing, you will very likely struggle for several reasons. The first reason is that a competitive market assures you of demand. The moment you see a competitive market, it guarantees you that if you're able to open a shop or a business in that market, you will sell, guaranteed. So competition guarantees that you will sell. I cannot say the same when you start a business that nobody knows about, you have to spend the first couple of months or couple of years educating people and letting them know why they need to buy your products or services. Most consumers in this market are skeptical people. Most consumers in this market are habitual consumers. They will likely spend money on things that they know or things that their friends have told them about or their family have used. So the more unique you are, the stranger you are, the more unfamiliar you are, and the higher the risk that nobody is going to listen to you. So competitive markets are usually very exciting because they guarantee you demand. They give you opportunities to spot gaps. So for example, this Commensal strategy that I've just explained to you, it can only exist in a competitive market where there's a lot of activity and you have some companies that are your competitors getting so much demand that they cannot meet all of that demand. And then because you're a small player, you can position yourself and benefit from the overflow. So in the course that I've curated, which essentially is titled How to Sell in a Competitive Market, if you have a business, and this definitely will be 90 something plus percent of business owners are active in a competitive market, whether it's restaurants, you own a laundry shop, you run a professional services firm, you run a transport business, you run a hospitality business, you are into real estate. If you notice, any business that is thriving in Nigeria or anywhere in Africa is happening inside of a competitive market. Most of the lucrative businesses exist inside of a competitive market. So it is important that you know how to sell in a competitive market, because even though I'm saying all these interesting things about competitive markets are also brutal, because if you don't know how to compete in a competitive market, your competitors are going to eat you for lunch. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to end up wasting money starting a business that will not thrive. But if you are ready to apply strategy, like the way I'm going to be teaching you in this course, I'm going to be showing you 12 unique strategies, 12 interesting strategies you can use to survive and sell more in a competitive market. I'm sure you've seen some people who, even in a competitive market, they say, that woman's business is always getting a lot of customers. That man's business is always getting a lot of customers. But their competitors' businesses are dry. So the only answer is they must be using juju. They must have some special juju that they are using. Juju may be possible, but these things I'm telling you are not juju, right? They are just, some of them are counterintuitive. Some of them are not what you would think the average person would do. Many of these things are already being applied by these informal people, the people who didn't go to school, that are in all these big main markets. They understand many of these strategies. And for those of us who are approaching entrepreneurship and business owners from a more enlightened angle, we are particularly handicapped when it comes to some of those street smarts that these people use to compete in all these very difficult markets. So, like I said, if you are interested in learning more about how to sell more in a competitive market, this is definitely the course for you. Follow the link on your screen, join the bmg.com. Join the bmg.com. The BMG is a community where I serve and support business owners and entrepreneurs. And there are different levels to the BMG. At level 1, there's a free Telegram group. I share tips there that I don't share on social media. And people who are in my level 1 group have the exclusive privilege of attending my monthly business clinics where I deal with business problems, right? At level 2, you have the BMG Academy. That is where you have all these courses, including this course I'm telling you about. And there are other courses in there: how to optimize profits, how to hire capable people, how to develop strategic partnerships, how to better manage costs, how to sell more. There are a lot of things inside of the BMG Academy. There's BMG Consult, which is level 3. That's why I work with people one-on-one. So if you want a confidential, private angle to discuss your business plans, your business idea, or any business issues you have one-on-one with me, that's level 3. And then level 4 is BMG Premium. That's usually based on availability. And that is like for my most exclusive clients. Right now, there is no room available for that. So if you want to learn more about how I can support you succeed and survive in business, follow the link on your screen. Join the bmg.com. And I look forward to seeing you inside the BMG. Cheers.